To start our review, we're going to look at quadrilaterals. So, follow along with me and see if you can fill in the quadrilateral hierarchy before I do. So let's take a look at the first placement in our hierarchy, the most general, right? The most general term we can come up with. Any polygon with 4 sides. What would you call that? It is a quadrilateral. Any polygon with 4 sides is called a quadrilateral. Remember, quad means 4, lateral means sides. So if you know what the word means, you know how to describe it. Now, a quadrilateral could be 3 different kinds of shapes. It could be this, this, or this. So let's focus first here. What is a quadrilateral with exactly 1 pair of parallel sides? 1 pair of parallel sides. Remember, parallel means that they will never intersect. They will run in the same direction forever and ever. What would a quadrilateral with 1 pair of parallel sides be? You nailed it. It's a trapezoid. Okay, a trapezoid. And remember, a trapezoid can look like this, where we have 1 pair of parallel sides, or a trapezoid could look like this, where we have 1 pair of parallel sides here and here, or a trapezoid could look like this, as long as the sides are, we have 1 pair of parallel sides and the other sides are not parallel, okay? That is a trapezoid. Now, let's look at the next thing that could be a quadrilateral, the next polygon, a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of parallel sides. So that means it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. These sides are parallel and these sides are parallel, okay? What is that called? It is a parallelogram, okay? It has 2 pairs of parallel sides, so it has the word parallel in the name, a parallelogram. And finally, what is this one called? A quadrilateral with 2 pairs of adjacent sides that are congruent, okay? Adjacent means next to. Congruent means equal side. So this is a shape that has 2 pairs of adjacent sides that are congruent, okay? Adjacent means next to, congruent means equal. This is called that is a kite. Excellent. Okay, so now let's continue. Now we see that our trapezoid gets stuck. Once we get to a trapezoid, it can't be labeled or named as anything else. A trapezoid can be named as a trapezoid, a quadrilateral, or a polygon, and that's it. A parallelogram, however, can be named in 2 more ways. So let's take a look. There is a certain kind of parallelogram that has 4 right angles. So this has 4 right angles and 2 sets of parallel sides. What is that called? Great, that is called a rectangle, okay? A parallelogram with 4 right angles. Now, what is a parallelogram called, or a kite called, that has 4 congruent sides, okay? So that's a shape that has 4 equal-sized sides, no right angles, 4 equal-sized sides, and 2 sets of parallel lines. It also has 2 adjacent sides that are congruent. They're all congruent, all 4 of them, and those 2 parallel sides. So what is that shape called? Excellent, that is a rhombus, okay? And then there's one more shape that is super special, and this shape has all of the different characteristics of a parallelogram and a kite and a rectangle and a rhombus and a quadrilateral. It has all of those different characteristics. This is a parallelogram or kite with 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides. It looks just like this. All the sides are equal. All the sides have a parallel partner, and all of the angles are right angles. That is, you are right, a square. Awesome job. Now that we've done our quadrilateral review, let's go and do some actual classifying. So you can see the hierarchy again here if you need to reference it. So let's look at number 1. Look at the figures below and on the next page. Find out how many right angles, pairs of parallel sides, and pairs of congruent sides each figure has. Then circle all the words that describe the figure. Use the hierarchy above to help. Remember, parallel means go in the same direction forever. Adjacent means next to, and congruent means equal length. If you aren't going to remember these, take a screenshot. Okay, let's take a look at figure A. How many right angles do you see? I see 0. Hopefully you did too. How many pairs of congruent or equal sides? Well, it looks like those 2 are congruent, but are these 2 congruent? No way. Those look like they are a different length. So how many pairs of congruent sides? One. How many pairs of parallel sides? Well, let's take a look. These sides are definitely not parallel, but if I look at this side and this side, they are definitely parallel. So one pair of parallel sides. Which is the only shape that has one pair of parallel sides? The trapezoid. Excellent. But trapezoid isn't the only word that can describe this. It could also be described as a quadrilateral because it has four sides. Make sure you always classify your shapes, your polygons, with as many names as possible. Okay, let's move on to B. Moving on to B. How many right angles do you see? Well, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. How many pairs of congruent sides? These two sides look like they're congruent, and these two sides look like they're congruent. So two pairs of congruent sides. Then, how many pairs of parallel sides? Well, this side and this side seem to be parallel, and this side and this side are parallel. So two pairs of parallel sides. That means this cannot be a trapezoid, but it definitely is a parallelogram. It also is a rectangle, and we look at it and it doesn't have all four congruent sides, so it can't be a rhombus, it can't be a square, and it can't be a kite because it has those right angles. So we have a rectangle and a parallelogram is what B could be named. Let's look at C. C. How many right angles do you see? 0. How many pairs of congruent sides? Well, I see 2. And how many pairs of parallel sides? Again, I see 2. So, could this be a trapezoid? No. Could it be a parallelogram? Has to be. Could it be a rectangle? No right angles, can't be. Could it be a rhombus? No, the sides aren't all equal. Could it be a square? No right angles, couldn't be. Could it be a kite? No, it doesn't have the two pairs of adjacent sides that are congruent. So, the only thing I could name C is a parallelogram. Let's take a look at D. Maybe you want to pause your video and see if you can do D, E, and F before I do. Now that you've paused your video and done them, let's check your work. So, D, how many right angles do we see? 0. How many pairs of congruent sides? Well, that seems equal to that side, to that side, to that side. So 4, or 2 pairs of congruent sides, rather, I guess we could say. This would have been 1, 1, and then we have 2 pairs of congruent sides here. And how many sets of parallel sides? Well, again, we see 2. So is this a trapezoid? No. Is it a parallelogram? Definitely. Is it a rectangle? No right angles. It is a rhombus? Yeah, it's a rhombus. Is it a square? No right angles. Is it a kite? Yes, it is also a kite because it has 2 sets of adjacent sides that are congruent. Okay, so this D can be named 3 separate things. Let's take a look at E. Does E have any right angles? Yes, indeed it does. It in fact has 4 of them. How many pairs of congruent sides? Well, it looks like they're all equal to me, so 2 pairs of congruent sides. How many sets of parallel sides? 1, 2, 3, 4, so 2 sets of parallel sides. Is it a trapezoid? Nope, 2 sets of parallel sides. Is it a parallelogram? Yep, 2 sets of parallel sides. Is it a rectangle? Yep, it has 4 right angles and parallel sides. Is it a rhombus? Yes, it has 4 congruent sides. Is it a square? Yes, it is indeed that. Is it a kite? Yes, it is also that. Oh my goodness, we can name it so many things. It's so exciting. Now let's take a look at F, okay? F, how many right angles? 0 right angles. How many pairs of congruent sides? Well, those 2 sides are equal, and those 2 sides are equal, so 2 pairs of congruent sides. Now, how many parallel sides? None. So is it a trapezoid? No. Is it a kite? Yes, sirree. Is it a parallelogram? No parallel sides, can't be. Square? Nope, can't be. No right angles. Rhombus? Can't be. Not all 4 sides are equal. And quadrilateral? 1 set of parallel sides. I know also that they have 4 sides, so they are quadrilaterals. And I know also that they are polygons. Those are all good answers to me, so I would write them down. Now, number 2, fill in the bubbles beside all other names you could use for a trapezoid. Well, I know I can call it a quadrilateral, has 4 sides. I can't call it a rectangle. I can't call it a triangle because it has 4 sides, not 3, but I can call it a polygon, so I would fill in both of these. Now, explain why a trapezoid can't be a parallelogram. Now I think to myself, well, I know a trapezoid has 1 set of parallel sides, but what does a parallelogram have? Oh, right, 2, so I'm going to write that. Now you'll notice I wrote a full sentence. You should be writing full sentences as well when you are using mathematical language to describe things. So I said a trapezoid has one pair of parallel sides, while a parallelogram has two pairs of parallel sides. Use mathematical language when you have to answer questions like this. Moving on to number 4, we see a coordinate grid. So let's do a little bit of review of our coordinate grid. Now we see all of these little numbers here. These are my ordered pairs, okay? And they're ordered like this, x, comma, y. My x-axis is horizontal and my y-axis is vertical. Now, while playing this polygon search game, Shana graphed the points 1, 2, 4, 2, 4, 5, and 1, 5. Graph the ordered pairs. So let's do it. I'm going to graph 1, 2 in green. Now I remember that I move first along my x and second along my y. So I'm going to go over 1 and up 2. And then I'd put my green dot right in that location. And you don't have to draw in all of your mapping out, but I'll do it here so you can see. Then I would do 4, 2. So I would go over 4 and up 2. So I have my dot here. Okay, then I would go to 4, 5. So again, over 4 and up 5. Then finally I go to 1, 5. So I go over 1 and up 5. And then I have all 4 points. Now I see Shana drew something really cool. What shape did she draw? Well, it looks to me like all of the sides are equal. They're all a distance of 3 away from each other. I have 4 right angles. I have 2 sets of parallel sides. I have 4 congruent sides. So what shape is this? This is a square. And now list 2 properties of this shape. Well, we just listed them together, but as a reminder, here they are. So you can use any of this language to help you name properties for a shape like a square. All right, now moving on from our quadrilaterals, let's look at these 2 story problems. You will see story problems like this on your test. So show your thinking using words, numbers, or labeled sketches. I recommend pausing the video, doing them on your own, and then coming back for the answer once you're finished. A. The regular size box of cereal measures 6 centimeters by 30 centimeters by 20 centimeters. What is the volume of the cereal box? To solve this problem, I need to know how to solve for volume. Volume can be solved for in 2 ways. Volume can be solved for by length times width times height, or it can be solved for by base times height. Base is just a fun way to say area, okay? And area, as we all know, is length times width. So you see length and width and base, they all mean the same thing. So for this, I would want to use the first formula, length times width times height, because I have 3 measurements. So I would fill in 6 times 30 times 20, and then I would solve for the volume of my box. So maybe it's easiest to me, I like to think of this as 6 times 600, and then I solve from there to see that I get 3,600 centimeters cubed. It's really important that I label volume is always cubed because I have 3 measurements, so I measure them 3 times, making a cube. Now, B. The large cereal box is twice as wide as the regular. Do you have enough information to find the volume? If not, what else do you need? If so, what is the volume? What do you think? I think we have enough information. All I know that it is that it is twice as wide. So let's look. 6 centimeters by 30 centimeters by 20 centimeters. Wait a minute. Do I know which one of those I'm going to multiply it by 2? I don't. So what would I need to know? I would need to know the width, okay? And I don't know that just yet. All right. Now let's say that the width was 20. Now do I have enough information? Sure. I could solve by saying 6 times 30 times 40, or 20 times 2. Okay, and that would be how I solve for that volume. All right, if you're confused about volume, remember always come back to the formulas. Volume equals length times width times height, or base times height, depending on the measurements that you have. So, we have quickly gone over quadrilaterals and their properties, coordinate grids and graphing coordinate points, and volume and story problems involving volume. Those are the things that you will be tested on. So your task today is to go complete the pre-assessment for review. Write down any questions you have to discuss and bring them to our next class. Good luck, and come back to this video as needed to help you with any part of these 3 beautiful pieces of information that you have learned in Unit 6. Have a good one!